on and so forth. We have a correlation to many state standards available on our website. We have a correlation available for your state standards. By all means, print out this correlation. You may want to put the standard up on the board that you're addressing for the day. If you do that and you're monitored by your principal, you'll be Teacher of the Month. You get your front place parking space for a whole month if that happens. You want active student involvement. We talked about that in the past. It demands attention control. Best thing I've seen, if you're looking for a strategy for attention control, best thing I've seen. A teacher had a coffee mug, and she had tongue depressors in the coffee mug. First name of a student on each tongue depressor. And she'd have a problem on the board, 6 times 6, and then she'd say, who thinks they know the answer? And she'd reach over and, Bob, what's the answer to this problem? Now, what does random selection for answers do for your classroom management? Keeps everybody on their toes. I had a teacher, think back to when you were in school. I had a teacher in 3rd grade, bless her heart. I learned early on, if I didn't make eye contact with her, I could slide by till recess and I never got called on. So whenever she got ready to ask the question, I'd drop a pencil and put my head under the desk or something like that. She thought I was I had motor skill deficiencies when I was in that grade. Or if I ever did answer a question, I was safe for the rest of the day because she never asked the same person a second question in a day. She wanted to be fair and ask everybody something. Random selection for answers mitigates both of those issues. New problem on the board, Bob, it's your lucky day, you get to answer again. All right, just a tip. Now, how many metaphors am I going to give you? 3. Why am I giving you metaphors? Because you retain what percent of what I say? 10% of what I say. Why am I asking that question right now? Keeping you alert. 7 times. It's all about why our curriculum works the way it works. The first metaphor is what? Coke bottle. What does it stand for? It stands for the relationship between your direct instruction and your students. What's going in and what's going to the side, and the fact that it's hard to determine that, so you need to keep prompting and soliciting feedback from them, which is exactly what I'm doing with you right now. Okay? You guys need to do this in your classroom if you're not doing it already. Does that make sense? I'm going to give you 3 metaphors. I'm also going to give you a statement that needs to be a part of the 10% you retain. So everybody needs to wake up here a little bit. If you have chocolate in front of you, take a piece of chocolate. I'm about ready to deliver a statement that needs to be part of the 10%. Here it comes. Ready? It is not about getting the answer right. And it has never been about your students getting the answer right in your classroom. It is always, and always will be, your students communicating mastery of a concept to you. End of statement. I learned that from my great teacher, James. One day, my wife was working with him with our summer school product in the summer, early in his mathematical career. And she said, he was going through it, she said, what's the answer to this problem right here? And I remember he said, 5? And she said, yeah, very good, let's move on. And I said, whoa, James, tell me how you got that answer. Oh, I guessed. Okay, let's go back and talk about this a little more. That's why when a student answers the question correctly, if you've implemented random selection for answers, and a student answers a question correctly, you don't stop there ever. You always require evidence. You always ask for rationale. Very good. Tell me the steps you did to get that right. What if I change the problem like this? How does that change your answer? Because you are checking for understanding, not for correct answers. You want fast-paced instruction. With our curriculum, whatever time period is devoted to Excel math, whether it's a core or supplement, 1/4 of the time is spent in the lesson of the day. They're not going to get it the first time you present it to them, and that's okay because we're going to keep that concept in front of them all throughout the school year. Fast-paced instruction. Keep it going. Don't make it complicated, but make it come alive. Think in terms of the VIQs. What does the VIQ stand for? Very important questions. Very good answer. And the VEAs actually are the very excellent answers. You request them, you recognize them, but you never stop there, because what is the one statement that I want you to remember?
It's not about getting the answer right, communicating mastery of a concept.
Very good. Now some of you, well, and you know what? And she wrote it down, and that means that she knew it needed to be retained. She's figured out a way to make it last. It's not about getting the answer right. It's all about your students communicating mastery of a concept to you. I didn't expect most of you to be able to recite that back to me yet because you haven't been exposed to it enough times yet. We will continue to spiral back on this. So, on the very excellent answers, request them, recognize them, but never stop there. Always require evidence. Very good. Tell me how you got there. Okay? All right. After the lesson of the day, the second component is called the guided practice. It's the back side of a lesson sheet. There you will notice it is always a variety of math problems. There's never a new concept introduced here. Everything here is review. So this is the balance of new and review. Also, this is where we have, starting in grade 2, this is where we have our check answer. It's these numbers in these boxes. Now, I know most of you understand check answer, but I want to spend just a little bit of time to communicate the importance of check answer. Here's an example of a check answer. Now, when I was in 2nd grade, first of all, the way it works, the answer to these two problems, when you add the answers together, equals this number in the standalone box. It's a very ingenious idea of Janice's. We're the only ones who have this. It's a copywritten idea. And the way it can play out in your classroom is when I was in school, let's say I forgot to carry the 1 here. Everybody with me on my error? Now, when I grew up, I did a page of algorithms by rote. And I'd forget to carry the 1, and then I'd do another problem, and I'd forget to carry the 1, and then I'd do another one, I'd forget to carry the 1. Now, what's starting to land in long-term memory in Bob's head? The wrong idea in the concept, right? Now, all of us want to know how we're doing, right? We want an instant assessment. We want to know if we're doing it right. So I'd get done with my practice page, I'd run up to my teacher, perhaps one of you, and I'd say, well, how'd I do? And you would look at me and very politely teach me that the world is not just about Bob, that you have 30 other students or so that you're dealing with, and suggest that I go out to recess, and you'll get to my grade a little later. So I run out to recess, I come back from recess, how'd I do? How'd I do? Bob, I haven't had time to grade your page yet. You have to go home, I'll let you know tomorrow. So I go home, and by the time I come back the next day, I look and I see a poor grade on my page. What am I going to surmise right then as a student? I will never get into heaven, because I will not be able to answer St. Peter's question. Just a joke. But with our curriculum, it's important that it's immediate feedback, confirming comprehension. Right now, as a student, when I've added the 2 answers and it does not equal the check answer, right now as a student, I recognize that I've made a mistake, but you have taught me not to be afraid of that. You have taught me to learn from my mistakes. I go back on my own initially and try to find where I have made my error. Now, we've been around for over 30 years. On average, 50% of the time, students discover the errors on their own, and that produces confidence. I guess I do know this after all. I am a genius with a capital J, and then I move on. If I'm unable to determine where I've made my error, all I have to do now is raise my hand, right? You're roaming around the classroom, as a hand is raised, you now can do individualized instruction, benefiting that particular student, while the rest continue to progress, knowing that they're achieving successful results. So we're giving every student in your classroom the realistic opportunity to score 100% every day in guided practice. And that's going to produce confidence. Does that make sense? Excellent. Any questions on that? Good, good. Pound for pound, it's probably arguably, it's the best thing we give you in our cost-affordable curriculum is the check answer, this immediate assessment. Now some instructional strategies for guided practice. One way to save time in the guided practice section is to implement student learning teams. Once you've done the direct instruction, if your classroom is set up for student learning teams, there's tremendous power in cooperative learning. I love to watch it run its course in a classroom. You know, you can just watch the peer level instruction going on. No, you can't do it this way because this and this. Oh, okay, I get it, and so on and so forth. It's not as intimidating. You could set up your classroom and say, after direct instruction, now break up into your teams and go right into the guided practice, and it saves time. Check answers there, it's much more realistic, and then you become more of a facilitator or monitor as you go around while they do that. Whether you choose to do that or not, it is essential that you stay actively involved in the education because the mastery occurs in the guided practice with our curriculum. Okay.